There is a version of you that is immune to the chaos of the world, a version of you that does not flinch when the unexpected strikes, that does not shatter when the pressure mounts, and that does not bargain with reality. This version of you watches the storm of your life with the cold, detached gaze of a mountain staring down a blizzard. But you do not know this version. You fear him, because to become him, you must first let the frantic, noisy, terrified part of yourself die on the slopes. Most men believe that calm is a state of relaxation. They think it is a warm bath, a soft bed, or a lack of conflict. They are wrong. In the philosophy of the high sentinels, those who dwell in the thin air where mistakes are fatal, calm is not relaxation. Calm is a weapon. Calm is the rigorous conservation of oxygen. Calm is the only thing standing between you and the void. When the storm hits, the untrained mind screams. The sentinel's mind goes silent. Today we ascend. We are going to strip away the panic that rules your modern life and replace it with the cold, hard iron of the glacial mind. Let us look at the creature you have become. Let us observe the modern human in their natural habitat of synthetic stress. Meet the climber who has forgotten the mountain. He wakes up, and immediately the avalanche begins. Not of snow, but of notifications, urgency, demands. He checks his phone before his eyes have fully adjusted to the light, and already his heart rate spikes. He is not in danger. There is no predator in the room. There is no lack of food. And yet, his biochemistry screams as if a wolf is at the throat of the cave. Watch him navigate his day. A difficult conversation with a boss sends adrenaline flooding through his veins. A financial setback triggers a spiral of catastrophic thinking. He perceives every obstacle, every delay, every confrontation as a personal attack on his safety. He is perpetually reacting. He is a leaf in a gale, whipped back and forth by forces he refuses to accept. He tells himself he is handling it. He clenches his jaw. He suppresses the anger. He forces a smile. But look closer. His breathing is shallow, high in the chest, rapid and desperate. His focus is fractured. He is burning energy at a rate that cannot be sustained. He is bleeding out psychologically. This is the state of the untrained mind, reactionary, fragile, loud. He believes that if he just worries enough, if he just spins his wheels faster, he can control the outcome. He tries to scream at the wind to stop blowing. And when the wind ignores him, he breaks. The ancients would look at this man not with judgment, but with pity. They would see a man who has mistaken the map for the territory. He is fighting a war against reality itself, and it is a war he is destined to lose. He thinks pressure is something to be pushed back against. He does not understand that pressure is simply the weight of the atmosphere. It is not personal. It is just gravity. The sentinel knows that you cannot outrun the storm. You cannot negotiate with the ice. You can only become something the storm cannot hurt. In the high peaks, above the tree line, where the air is thin and the sun is merciless, there is a law known as the silence of the summit. The Sherpas, the mountain ascetics, and the Stoic sages all understood a single, brutal truth. The mountain does not care about your feelings. The mountain does not care if you are tired, if you are scared, or if you think the situation is unfair. The mountain simply is. This is the foundation of the glacial Stoic philosophy. It is the concept of objective reality. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire while surrounded by plague, and war, wrote not as a king, but as a sentinel on the wall. He said, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." The modern mind sees the wave and panics. The glacial mind identifies as the cliff. The core principle here is the separation. In the high mountains, you must separate the event from your judgment of the event. When a storm rolls in at 8,000 meters, it is a physical phenomenon. Low pressure, high wind, falling temperature. That is the event. The judgment is, this is a disaster. I am going to die. This shouldn't be happening. The sentinel knows that the judgment is what kills you, not the storm. Panic consumes oxygen. Panic clouds judgment. Panic causes you to fumble the carabiner, to miss the foothold, to step into the crevasse. The sentinel practices the art of cold observation. When pressure rises, whether it is a deadline, a confrontation, or a crisis, the sentinel steps back into the observer's seat. He watches his Ophir rising like steam. He acknowledges it. My heart is racing, he notes. My mind is suggesting catastrophe, he observes, but he does not engage. He does not identify with the fear. He remains the mountain, immobile, ancient, and detached. This philosophy teaches us that we do not suffer from the things that happen to us. We suffer from our resistance to them. The man who falls into the freezing river and relaxes his body will float and conserve heat. The man who trashes and screams will inhale water and drown. To remain calm under pressure is not to suppress emotion. It is to realize that the emotion is just weather, and you are not the weather. You are the terrain. But knowing the philosophy is not enough. You must understand the enemy, and the enemy is inside the gates. When you face high pressure, a war begins between your biology and your identity. Your biology is ancient, but it is outdated. It is the lizard brain, the amygdala. It is designed for a world of instant physical threats, tigers, spears, falling rocks. When it senses danger, it dumps cortisol and adrenaline into your system. It shuts down your prefrontal cortex, the center of logic, reason, and strategy. It prepares you to fight or flee. In the modern world, or in the high stakes of a complex life, this biological override is disastrous. You cannot fight a collapsing market. You cannot flee from a difficult marriage. When your biology takes over, you become stupid. You become reactive. You say things you cannot take back. You make decisions based on fear rather than strategy. This is the scream of the body. The sentinel feels this scream. Do not think the stoic feels nothing. The sentinel feels the adrenaline hit. He feels the urge to lash out or run away. The difference is the gap. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the ultimate pressure cooker of the concentration camps, identified this. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. The internal war is the battle to widen that gap. The amateur feels the fear and instantly acts. Stimulus leads to response. No gap. The sentinel feels the fear, breathes into the void, and creates a pause. Stimulus, the gap, then response. In that gap, the war is won. In that gap, you override the biological programming. You tell the lizard brain, I see the tiger, but we are not running. We are holding the line. This battle is violent. It feels like holding your breath until your lungs burn. It requires a force of will that is painful. Your entire nervous system will demand that you do something, anything, to relieve the tension. The sentinel refuses. He holds the tension. He transmutes the pressure into focus. Imagine a warrior standing in a shield wall. The enemy charges. Every instinct screams at him to break formation, to charge out in anger, or to turn and run. But he holds. He waits for the command. He endures the terror of the impact without flinching. That is the internal war. It is the conquest of the self. So how do we win this war? How do we access the glacial mind when the heat is rising? The path of the sentinel requires the adoption of a specific method, radical acceptance, or as the ancients called it, amor fati, the love of fate. But we must strip the romance away from this term. In the context of the mountain, amor fati is not a poetic love. It is a tactical acceptance of the terrain. When you are caught in a blizzard, complaining about the cold is a waste of calories. Wishing the wind would stop is a form of insanity. The one path dictates that you must instantly, totally, and brutally accept the reality of the situation. I am bankrupt. She has left me. The project has failed. I am under attack. The sentinel looks these facts in the eye and says, "Good. This is the terrain I must navigate." The modern mind resists this. It thinks that acceptance means resignation. It thinks that if you accept the problem, you are giving up. The opposite is true. Acceptance is the prerequisite for action. You cannot navigate a terrain you refuse to see. If you are lost in the woods and you refuse to admit you are lost because it is frightening, you will walk in circles until you die. The moment you stop, look at the compass, and say, "I am lost," is the moment you begin to be found. The method of the sentinel is the down-regulation protocol. It works like this. First, the freeze. When chaos strikes, you physically stop. You do not speak. You do not type. You do not move. You mimic the stillness of the stone. This signals to your nervous system that you are in control. Second, the tactical breath. You take manual control of your respiratory system. The breath is the only part of the autonomic nervous system you can control consciously. By slowing the exhale, you manually hack the vagus nerve, forcing the heart rate to drop. You are physically turning off the alarm. Third, the view from above. You mentally zoom out. You look at your problem from the perspective of a hawk circling the mountain. From a mile up, your panic looks small. Your timeline looks short. You remember that this moment is a tiny blip in a vast life. Fourth, the next step. You do not try to solve the whole problem. You do not try to climb the whole mountain. You ask one question. What is the single best move I can make in the next 60 seconds? This is the one path. It is mechanical. It is precise. It relies on system, not motivation. You cannot learn to swim in a hurricane, and you cannot learn stoicism in a crisis. The sentinel knows that the capacity to remain calm under extreme pressure is not a talent. It is a callus. It is built through the accumulation of friction. This brings us to the law of consistency, practice without gaps. The modern world is obsessed with hacks and breakthroughs. We want the epiphany that changes everything. But the mountain is climbed by steps, not by leaps. The sentinel practices the glacial mind when the stakes are low, so that it is available when the stakes are high. You must treat every minor irritation of your day as a training rep for the heavy weights. When you are stuck in traffic, that is not a nuisance. That is the dojo. That is an opportunity to practice patience. When the coffee spills, that is not an accident. That is a simulation. When someone insults you, that is not an offense. That is a test of your shield. If you crumble when the Wi-Fi is slow, you will disintegrate when the diagnosis comes back positive. If you scream when you stub your toe, you will have no voice left when you need to lead your family through a crisis. The philosophy demands that there are no days off from your character. You are always training. You are always ascending. Think of the samurai sword. It is folded thousands of times. It is heated and cooled, hammered and compressed. It is the repetition that gives it strength. Your mind is the steel. The daily stresses are the hammer. Do not resent the hammer. It is forging you. The sentinel builds a chain of identity. Every time you choose calm over reaction, you add a link to the chain. Every time you lose your temper, you break the chain. The goal is to build a chain so heavy, so strong, that the storms of life cannot sway it. This requires a shift in how you view your life. You are no longer living for pleasure or comfort. You are living for mastery. You are an athlete of the mind, and an athlete never skips the warm-up. The ancient warriors did not wait for the battle to decide how they would die. They decided in the quiet of the morning, so that when the chaos of swords began, they could move without hesitation. This is the concept of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. The modern mind is optimistic to a fault. We are taught to think positive, to manifest success, to ignore the possibility of failure. The sentinel knows this is dangerous. If you only visualize sunshine, the storm will break you. The sentinel engages in negative visualization. Before a high-stakes event, the sentinel sits in silence and visualizes the worst-case scenario. He visualizes the deal falling through. He visualizes the humiliation. He visualizes the loss of his reputation. He visualizes the rope snapping. He does not do this to induce anxiety. He does this to strip the event of its power. He looks at the phantom of failure and realizes, I could survive that. If I lose the job, I will still have my skills. I will still have my breath. I will still be me. By pre-accepting the worst outcome, he removes the fear of it. When you are no longer afraid of the worst thing that can happen, you become invincible. You move with a lightness and a daring that the terrified man cannot match. You must build pre-solutions. You create a code for yourself. If X happens, I will do Y. If they scream at me, I will lower my voice. If the market crashes, I will buy. If I am injured, I will focus on recovery. You make the decisions before the pressure hits. When the pressure comes, you are not thinking. You are simply executing a script you wrote when you were calm. The sentinel carries his calmness in his pack, prepared long before the ascent began. He does not look for peace in the storm. He brings the peace with him. When you commit to this path, when you stop fighting the mountain and start becoming the mountain, a transformation occurs. It is painful at first. The old version of you, the one who thrives on drama, the one who is addicted to the rush of panic, the one who needs to be the victim, will fight to stay alive. It will scream. It will tell you that being cold is inhuman. It will tell you that you need to express every emotion you feel. Let that version of you die. Leave him on the lower slopes. As you ascend into the thin air of the glacial mind, you will feel a new sensation. It is not happiness. It is not excitement. It is power. It is the power of total self-ownership. You will walk into a room where everyone is panicking, and you will be the eye of the hurricane. You will speak less, but your words will carry more weight. You will move slower, but you will arrive sooner. people will be drawn to you. In a chaotic world, the calm man is the leader. He is the anchor. They will look at you and wonder how you can stand so still while the ground shakes. They will not see the years of training. They will not see the internal war. They will only see the result, a human being who has transcended the biological imperative to fear. You will look at the problems that used to wreck your week, the petty arguments, the financial stresses, the unexpected failures, and you will see them for what they are. Pebbles on the path. You simply step over them. You have become the sentinel. You have become the high place. The storm may rage around you, the winds may howl, the snow may fall, but the mountain does not bow. The pressure has not disappeared. You have simply become stronger than the pressure. If the thin air of the high peaks calls to you, if you are ready to leave the noise of the valley and begin the ascent toward a mind of unshakable iron, subscribe to the channel. Join the order of the Sentinels. The path is steep and the air is cold, but the view is worth everything. Welcome to the climb.